24 hours, live app. The customer logged in by himself, clicked the AI feature and asked if it's working for real. That's the bar. Most founders sit on a SaaS idea for 3 months. Then they ship a toy that only works when they are on the Zoom call narrating it. That isn't product, that's a slideshow with a database. You think you need a long sprint, a PDR, 3 rounds of stakeholders feedback before anything is reviewable. You don't. You need 1-page spec, a real stack with a documented boundaries and a clock that does not move. I will show you the exact 24-hour loop. The spec I wrote with Claude, real Supabase, real Slack, real webhook, real email, real Anthropic feature. Why your MVP is stuck? Let me start with the thing nobody wants to admit. Your MVP isn't stuck because of a missing feature. It isn't stuck because of the hard technical problem. It's stuck because there is no clock. There is a backlog, there is a Notion doc, there is a V0.1 milestone that quietly slips 2 weeks every time you open it. 3 weeks in, you're polishing it. A login screen nobody asked for. 6 weeks in, you're refactoring the data layer because you found a better way. 12 weeks in, you're shipping a toy with 12 features and no real users because every conversation with a prospect and in let me show you when it's ready. 3 months later, the idea is cold and you've moved on to the next one. The 24-hour bar fixes this one move. You pick the deadline. You design the scope around it, not the other way around. Most builders do the backwards. The list features estimate hours, path by 50% scheduled by a demo. By the time they ship, the market context has moved and the customer has a lost interest. Pick the deadline first. The scope follows up. This is the single decision that separates a shipped MVP from a Notion graveyard. Now there's a second part that founders miss. The 24-hour bar is not ship something working 24 hours. The bar is ship something customer can review and use in 24 hours. Different game entirely. The first is a toy. The second one is a product, even if it's a small one. The difference is when you can handle the URL to the stranger, walk away, and app explain it by itself. If you have to be on the call, the app is not reviewable. If the app is not reviewable, you cannot get real signal back. If you cannot get the real signal back, you are guessing for 3 months in a row. One more thing, the 3-month MVP is a coordination cost, not a complexity cost. The most MVPs are not technically hard, they are decision heavy. Every day you stay in the 3-month mode is a day spent redeciding the same trade-offs. You already had answers. The 24-hour loop forces the trade-offs in writing on day 0 in the spec. After that, the only question is this acceptance criteria met or not? No realigning, no 2 AM rewrites on the data model. And before you write me off as some AI hype merchant, let me put one thing on the table. I spent 10 years shipping MVPs the traditional way. Sprints, Jira boards, PDRs, 3 months timelines, stakeholders roundup, the whole machinery. I did a client work for healthcare, pharma, Web3, NBA teams. I'm not new to MVPs. I'm new to ship them in a day. 24-hour loop is not a shortcut a junior dev stumbled into with Claude. It's what the 10 years of slow shipping told me to cut. Now I'm going to show you call transcript, extracting one biggest issue that customer had, process of the planning features, and summary of the development process. And at the end, you will see the final result. So the first thing that we have is our call transcript. It has 5 pages, so we should read through this. And we can also have some brainstorming with the Claude Code or any similar tool. The easiest way to do this is just download it as a markdown file. This and any other resources that we have. After downloading it, the fastest way is to use it with VS Code. So we can just drag and drop it here. We can open the right panel and use any of the tools that you like. I will use Claude Code to find the number one issue with this company that can be automated with AI. So you just have your conversation here. I already did it before, and it found out that the biggest issue here is the time from the sales walk to the final pricing plan. In this case, it takes the person few weeks, but this is something that can be easily automated. You just need to feed them the list of our services, then compare it with the note from the walk that can be simply recorded by the person who's selling it. Then it all is saved in the database, sent to AI model. The AI model matches the things that we included in our conversation with our list of the pricing that we sent to it. After that, he reply with the full pricing. Then we can send it directly to the client, to a designer if it's over some price point, and send a Slack notification to our team that the person is onboarded and we can start working on this project. Now, before we start coding, we have to decide what stack we're going to use. So the easiest and the fastest way for the MVP is to use, for the frontend, React with Next.js, for the database, Supabase with PostgreSQL, deploy it on Vercel, and use third-party service like Resend to integrate our email sending, and then use Slack API to send notifications to our team. So knowing that, to not waste the tokens on the initial template, I would suggest to find some starter pack. And in my case, it's that one, Supabase Next.js template. And it includes everything that I would need here. So it already has some simple dashboard, some simple landing page, and some kind of a list view. So this is the perfect starter pack for me in this case. The next thing, we have to just clone it. You can use with SSH, or you can download with GitHub desktop, it's up to you. Then you open it in our VS Code, and that's it. The next step is installing SpecKit. The SpecKit installation is also explained in their own GitHub repository. If you need the step-by-step guidance, you can also check it on my community. The link is in the description. Now I will show you exactly how I go through this process. So after the copying of this project, I set up the SpecKit, I make the constitution. I will show you in the graph view. So as you see, this is the first commit was set up all the SpecKit, all the skills that I needed, and the constitution file. Next, what I did is config for the Supabase. Then I created my specs for the first step. And as you can see, the first thing when I landed in this starter pack, I was checking if there is any Postgres already inside. It wasn't directly implemented, it was implemented through the Supabase. So then the first thing that I needed was change the dashboard from the default one to the list of the prospects. So I did with the SpecKit specify, and I pasted the process that I designed before with the Claude code. After the initial specification, I go with the clarify step, answer a few short questions. Then I went to the plan mode, then break it into the tasks, run analysis, then updated the specification with the things that were missing or misaligned, and then I had my first plan ready. The next step was implementing the specification that we already had. And I break it down into two parts, because what I found out is when you plan in the conversation and then you run the implementation in the same conversation, the model can get too much context and get out of its track, start losing the focus. Sometimes it implements some random things that are not matched with the project, or for example, it will use the library that was not installed when we already have one. So that's why I ran the implement task in the new conversation, because then he took everything that we planned. He doesn't have all the follow-up questions or anything that SpecKit was doing on the way with the planning. He just have the final result and go with the implementation. It's usually very accurate. Sometimes you have to do some follow-up fixes. So for example, here it didn't have PyTest installed initially in this project, and it's stuck on the npm installation, so I had to do it manually and then handle it back to the AI to continue the implementation process from that point. After reviewing that, I also had to give him a few suggestions. So he redesigned database a little bit, changed the UI a little bit, also added some remove actions to manage the list of the leads, and migrated the database. After that implementation was completed, I moved to the next task, which is service list and pricing form. So it was the list where AI take it as template to take the prices and to set it up in the document prepared for the client. And the process that I followed here is exactly the same. I describe I want to have a screen with a list of services and prices for each service. It will be a single form with many inputs, only patch operations. When save is clicked, generate example list of 10 services for a high-end residential outdoor construction company. It must be designed in a way when every prospect can have assigned its list of services and sum of prices. And the process that I went through is exactly the same as described before. Then I had few back and forth with it. Then it was adding a voice memo, services list implementation, then integration with the voice memo. Then I moved to the AI integration, then quota with email feature, then Slack integration, and some final fixes. So the process is super easy, straightforward. I had to make some more conversations after implementing some of the steps to adjust it to what I wanted, what was not specified at the beginning. But in general, the process is very straightforward. Now I will show you the final results. We have our basic SaaS dashboard, where we have our proposals list with their status, the neighborhood where the prospect is from, the work date, so it's basically the sales date, and the value of the sale, stage where is it at right now, and how long it is in this stage, the status of the render, and some other flags and actions. We can add the new proposals here. Originally it was coming from the Go High Level system, but we don't have access to it, so we had to implement some workaround just to have it done in such a short time. We have our list of the services visible in the next tab with the pricing, but in general they are hard-coded for now. And now let's see how all the features are working. To simplify it as much as possible, I made it all in the one pop-up. It's not beautiful, but it's done and working. Here is our voice memo. So at this point it's just a copy-paste. It can be some random talking. It doesn't have to be structured in any way, because the AI can do the extraction of the feature. So after pasting it here, we just save or update the memo when it's sent to our Supabase. After we save it, we can generate quote. Here we have request to the Cloud Sonnet, so I'll just run it. Here's the response from the Cloud Sonnet. We have our verified services with their pricing from the list. We have our other services that were found in this description that are not verified. This is the place when we have the human in the loop, and it's good to have it right here. We can add the rows manually if you need it, and we can save our final list. It's visible here, and we have our total. We can edit this quote if we need at any point. Then we can send it to the customer. And right now this client didn't have his email, so we have also this error handling visible here. Then we can send the same thing to the designer, and designer have it email received. So the content of the email is visible here, and as you can see, everything is matching up. And then we have our Slack notification. It was made as simple as possible to just have this. So I will open up my Slack and I will trigger new notification to the Slack. As you can see, it appeared here, and that's it. That's the final stage. This is the application that solved the exact problem that the customer had. So that is the full loop. Pick the 24-hour bar. Write the spec with Claude. Follow Spec Driven Development, no vibe coding. For real integrations. Real Anthropic feature. Live URL handed off cold. Customer review it on his own. If you have been sitting on a SaaS idea for 3 months, you do not need another planning week. You need a 24-hour clock and a 1-page spec today. The fastest way to actually do is a 24-hour SaaS challenge I run inside my school community, Agentic Architect Lab. You bring the idea, I walk you through the exact 24-hour loop on a real clock with feedback from me along the way. Free to join, link in the description. If a 24-hour clock with a senior dev watching your spec is not the forcing function you need, nothing is. I will see you in the next one.